So hello everybody, Jojo Jund here. So I put out a poll on my YouTube asking if you guys wanted a killer tier list or if you wanted me to wait a little bit longer to see Kaneki's power level, maybe. And so about 75% of people voted for the killer tier list. So that's what we're doing. I'm trying the thing that Scott does, where he has this setup, right? This is what Scott does to see if I like it. Incoming, you're just copying Scott Jund in the comments, but I'm just doing this to see if I like it, because normally I would do this and then I would be, so yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I'm just doing this to see if I like it. If I don't, then we'll go back to the normal way I do desktop recordings. But yeah, for now, we're just doing this to see if I like it. Anyway, let's talk about criteria, because every time anybody ever does a tier list, there's always going to be people who jump into the comments saying, oh, but I don't agree with you, because if you equip these perks and the moon is in retrograde and it's the 17th of March, then this killer is actually S++ tier. We're not doing that, okay? We're not doing that. This is solely based off of the base kit of the killer. If they have to use add-ons to be good, I consider that killer to be add-on reliant. If they have to use perks to be good, I consider that killer to be perk reliant. If they have to be on a certain map to be good, that killer is map reliant. And the more reliant on those three things they are, the lower the killer goes in the tier list, okay? So when you see a placement, if your argument is instantly, oh, but if you do this specific thing, I don't care. Good? Good? Let's get into it. Starting off with Trapper, we're gonna put him in the F tier. The F tier, in my opinion, is the tier where the killer is not only unbelievably shit, but they are so shit that they are actually actively miserable to play. Like, they are so bad that they are also miserable to play. Trapper needs to spawn with all of his traps. I saw a comment one time where somebody was like, I don't want Trapper to spawn with all of his traps. I just want them to buff the traps to compensate for the fact he has to look for his traps. His traps could instantly kill a survivor, and they would still not be good enough to fucking justify the massive time sink that this killer has to go through to collect his trap, okay? The reason everybody who has a brain wants Trapper to spawn with his traps is because of the massive fucking time sink that goes into collecting his traps. He is the only killer in the game that has to collect his power. And what's worse is that on top of having to go collect his power, he can't even carry more than 2 traps, unless he has the add-on that lets him carry 3. So even if you did take into account, oh, well, I like being able to walk around the map and collect my power because I'm a fucking sociopath, you can't carry more than 2 traps. So fuck you if you're not ready to place a trap yet and you walk over a trap that needs to be picked up and collected. So yeah, Trapper needs to spawn with all of his traps. That will instantly put him from F to like D tier. And then we could probably look at a couple of other things after that. But for right now, just let Trapper spawn with all of his traps. Wraith. Wraith, I put in C tier. C tier for me is the average tier. These are the killers that are not bad enough to be considered bad, but not good enough to be considered good, right? When I put a killer in the C tier, that means that they are average. That means that they are just kind of there. That means that that's where they're at. And for me, that's what the Wraith is, because at the end of the day, the Wraith is just an M1 killer. He is the M1 killer of M1 killers. 82. The Wraith has map traversal with his invisibility, but you play against him just like you play against any M1 killer. He's very easy to play against, but he's also good in the sense that his map traversal allows him to do what most M1 killers can't, and that's patrol the map, right? He has good map presence, but once you're actually in the chase, once you're actually against the Wraith, he just plays like an M1 killer, and it's a lot easier to play against him. Next up is the Hillbilly. Hillbilly is at the top of the A tier. Now later on, when we get to Kaneki, we're gonna talk a little bit more about where Kaneki goes, but I still think that the Hillbilly is the 3rd best killer in the entire game. Between his insane map mobility, his curve allowing him for great anti-loop, his chainsaw allows him to get pallets out of the way very fast. Overall, the Hillbilly is still the 3rd best killer in the game. The only thing that holds him back from S tier is that he is incredibly map dependent on indoor maps. Because of all the clutter of indoor maps, it makes it much more difficult for the hillbilly to do things like curves and to get from one place to another. Indoor maps really hurt the hillbilly, and that's the only thing that keeps him from S tier. If clutter wasn't a problem, hillbilly would be in the S tier. Next up is the nurse. Best killer in the game, hands down. I don't care what people try to tell me. The ability to outright ignore and negate any distance that survivors make by just straight up teleporting through the environment is always going to be too goddamn strong. It's always going to be too goddamn strong. She can instantly, I mean, she hits you, she goes into her little, and the moment she gets out of it, she's got her tokens, and she just goes, and she just goes straight through everything. So it doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what floor you made it to, doesn't matter how much shit you put between yourself and her, she just makes it all the way through. The only way to play against the nurse is to try to break line of sight and force her to predict where you're gonna go and hope that you can play against that, because otherwise she's just too damn strong. Next up is Myers. Myers got some quality of life buffs that took him out of the F tier, but he's still one of the worst killers in the game by far. Just like Trapper, his time sink is just too goddamn high to matter. And whenever he's in tier 3, he's just an M1 killer. Like, his tier 3 is insta-down, and that's great, but he's still just an M1 killer. He's still hurt by safe and god palettes. Windows are still a problem. Even with the increased vault speed, windows are still a problem. You have to have add-ons and perks and the right maps for him to be super good. Just too much. The only thing that keeps him out of F tier is that now his stalk is much more efficient than it used to be. It used to be you ran out of stalk too fast, and you had to be like breathing down the survivor's neck to get fast stalk speed. They've changed that now, so you can stalk from a distance, get the stalk that you need. So he's a lot better, but in order to get him out of the D and into C tier, I think that he definitely needs something more, probably a buff to his tier 3, like maybe an increased pallet break speed to go with the increased vault speed. Might do something, but yeah. Next up is the Hag. And after playing the Hag for the past couple of days offline, ever since I made my video that why is the Hag so slow, I have come to the conclusion that the Hag is in the C tier. She's just bad. She's just really bad. Honestly, there's a part of me that wants to bring her down to the D tier. Yeah, the Hag is just bad, dude. She's just absolutely terrible. Her 110 movement speed is atrocious. Absolutely fucking atrocious. You can't chase people. It takes you forever to get to places where you need to put your traps. Once you put your traps down, the survivors can just wipe it away and you get no notification that that trap has been wiped away. They just wipe it away and then that's it. You're just kind of fucked. A lot of people on that video were like, oh, but you're supposed to set up a web of traps and then defend it. It doesn't matter if the survivors just wipe away the fucking traps, dude. Like, it doesn't matter. If they put her to 115 movement speed, she'd be much better. She'd just be much better. That way she could at least have the movement speed to get to places. So when she teleports, so that she can set up a teleport that actually, you know, makes sense. But yeah, she's just not good. That 110 holds her back too much. Next up is Jokcha. Is there a Jokcha in the house? B tier, huh? So if C is average, D is bad, F is really, really bad, so bad it's miserable. B is good, A is so good is like really, really good. And then S is just, if the killer is good enough at that killer, you're probably not winning. B is really good. Or B is good. I would say the Doctor's good. The Doctor's in a very good spot right now. His anti-loop is incredibly strong. I think the main problem the Doctor suffers from is that even though his anti-loop is strong, it does kind of hinder you a bit because you slow down while shocking survivors. So there's a lot of timing that's involved with the Doctor that kind of raises his skill floor a bit, making him a little bit more difficult to be able to use correctly. Once you're able to use the Doctor correctly, he can definitely be strong. I just don't think he's strong enough to... honestly, I think I'm going to put him in the C tier. I think I'm going to put him in the average. I don't think he is actually, like, better than average. I think he's just average, to be honest. Next up is the Huntress. This is going to be the first major shift from my old tier lists. I think the Huntress is just good. I used to put her in A tier as like being like extremely capable of the 1v4, which I think she still is. I just think that nowadays the Huntress is just kind of outdone by the map design in the game. There's a lot more taller walls. There's a lot more clutter that kind of blocks her hatchets, and it makes it more difficult for the Huntress to like be like insanely good like she used to be. Her proxy camping abilities are off the fucking charts. It's insane how good she is at proxy camping. If a Huntress gets you in the basement during the end game, you're just kind of dead. There's just no way you're getting out of that basement. And if anybody comes to save you, they're probably also kind of dead. But yeah, I would say that the Huntress is in the top B tier, very, very close to A. I just think that map design holds her back a little bit, because she's not perk reliant, she's not add-on reliant at all. So yeah, I would say the Huntress is in B tier. Next up is Booba. The Booba. We're gonna put Booba in C. After his hitbox buffs, Bubba was able to hug environments a little bit better, which made anti-loop with the chainsaw a little bit better. But I still think that he needs something more, because he has to play like an M1 killer. He has to be on your asshole to use his chainsaw effectively. And that's one of the problems with Bubba as a whole, is that he has to play like an M1 killer, which holds him back extremely. He's also very reliant on Bamboozle, which also holds him back. You can play Bubba without Bamboozle. I do it quite often, but you do suffer without Bamboozle, or at least some sort of window blocking perk. So that does make him a bit perk reliant. I would also say he's a tad add-on reliant, but not like extremely, you know what I mean? So yeah, I would think that Bubba is probably just below Wraith in terms of power. Next up is Fredward. Fredward is very close to being good. What holds Freddy back from being like higher than average is how easy his counterplay is. If you just consistently grab the clocks the moment you fall asleep, and you make sure that everybody who's healing is awake, it severely weakens Freddy. I don't think he really has that much of a add-on reliance, although the yellow add-on that makes the clocks cooldown last longer is definitely good. But I don't think he has that much of an add-on reliance. I just think that he has more of a perk reliance, and I wouldn't say he has a map reliance either. I don't think. Well, yeah, kind of, because he is an M1 killer and he does rely on you being asleep for his anti-loop to work. So he is pretty map reliant. I think he has more of a perk reliance where he needs stuff to... Well, hello to you too. Good morning, afternoon. I was talking. I'm doing a video. Is that okay with you? Okay then. Anyway, where was I? Okay. So yeah, so Freddy is average because it's just easier to play against him. Next up is the Pig. Pig's just bad, honestly. I think what stops Pig from being like average, the fact that while her slowdown can be good, the head traps, getting the downs to get the head traps is way harder than it needs to be. The ambush is just too fucking loud. When you go to do your ambush, it just gives too much of a warning. So it's too easy to play around. I think that I used to think that what she needed was to buff her head traps, but now I'm more in the camp of they need to buff the ambush again into a much better anti-loop tool so that she can more consistently get her downs so that can use the head traps to begin with. Because like the problem has never really been the power of the head traps. The power has always, the problem has always been her ability to get down. Because her anti-loop is so easy to outplay, it makes her super perk reliant, it makes her super add-on reliant, it makes her super map dependent. So all of that being said, I just think that the Pig really does need like something. I've mentioned in the past what Banana Bread just put in. I've mentioned in the past that maybe her dash should break pallets. The ambush should be able to break pallets. That would be a good start. But I also think that there maybe needs to be like just a little bit less warning with the roar. I don't think the roar should happen before the ambush starts. I think it should happen as the ambush is starting, and then that would probably be better. Like, as she's coming up, the roar happens instead of it happening while she's still crouching. So it gives just a little bit less warning, would probably be good. And then I would also probably up the speed of the ambush, but that's just me. Next up is the clown. I would say C tier, average. The clown is a character that is kind of add-on reliant. Using his bottles in the correct way leads to some pretty complicated gameplay, which can be very fun. I just think that without his additional add-ons, it's very difficult for him to outdo other killers. I'm still kind of trying to decide if he is better or worse than Freddy. I think Clown and Freddy are kind of neck and neck nowadays, where their counterplays are both significantly easier, but if you're not counterplaying them, they're very difficult to deal with. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure how it's going to affect him. Or how it's good. I'm reading chat at the same time I'm talking. I'm really not sure if he's better or worse than Freddy, but I do definitely think that regardless, they're kind of neck and neck. Like if I could like put both of them in the same exact spot, I would. But for right now, I think he's slightly worse than Freddy because Freddy's pallet explosions are a ranged attack. If that makes sense, right? Actually, with that being said, I would put Doctor below Freddy. I think the pallet explosions being a ranged attack helps Freddy in his tier. Spirit is A tier. Spirit has fallen a lot. She used to be in S tier, but I think nowadays survivors are just more alert than they used to be. When you play Spirit, a lot more survivors will pre-run or will try to camp pallets to listen for you. Years and years and years of me telling people, I say years and years, I've only been playing this game for like almost 2 years, but years and years of me telling people that you can, if you wear both your headphones, you can listen for the spirit, and she's got directional audio. I think a lot of people have started to learn that. I'm not saying I'm responsible for that, but that is how the game works. And so when people use that audio, when people learn how to use that, she becomes much easier to play against. I think that her phase is still just too fucking fast to deal with sometimes, even if you are listening for the audio cues. So even though she is an accessibility nightmare, she is incredibly strong. And I think that a lot of people just don't realize that. Next up is the Legion. I think the Legion is weaker than Pig simply because his chase and his anti-loop are worse than hers. His ability to injure everybody on the map is cool and all, but Frenzy's still bad. It's still too goddamn slow, which has always been its problem, is that it's just too fucking slow. It is incredibly easy for survivors to just pre-run and outrun you. Kind of ridiculous if we're being honest. And even if you do injure them, his chase is just not that great because then he turns into a very bad M1 killer. The only reason he's above Hag and Myers in this list is because the map-wide injure is really good. Outside of that, though, he would probably be too low. He would probably be lower than them. Honestly, no, I'd put him below Hag. I think Legion's just that bad. I think he's just terrible. Bottom 5 killer easily, maybe? Yeah. I think Legion is just absolutely god fucking awful. He needs a lot of help. Next up is the Plague. I put the Plague in A tier. Later on in this list, she's probably going to go much lower in the A tier. But the Plague's strength is honestly just, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you don't cleanse, then she's an M1 killer. She does have a fountain she can go and pick up at some point. And because of that, because she's able to go and pick up that fountain, if you're injured, you're just kind of fucked. The Plague has the best projectile attack in the game. The corrupted Purge is the best projectile attack in the game. It's got this insane lingering hitbox. It's got incredible range. It is so fucking strong. And I think that a lot of people tend to underestimate it. She's just got incredible map pressure. She doesn't really have, she's got like, maybe she's got a small add-on reliance, but in terms of like power level, she's just so fucking strong, dude. And I think that a lot of people just really underestimate how powerful the Plague is, because they don't really understand how like powerful, they don't understand how strong keeping everyone broken and vulnerable to her attacks is in relation to somebody like the Legion, where you can technically waste time healing, and yeah, he keeps everybody injured. But the problem with the Legion is that he's never really able to commit to survivors for too long, whereas the Plague can commit and cause a lot of issues. Next up is the Ghostface. Incredibly depressing. The Ghostface barely makes it away from the F tier, only because the Undetectable is incredibly strong. But that's it. That's all it is. The Ghostface, or as I like to call him, oh shit, I don't have my power again, is incredibly fucking weak. Just so bad, because you don't have your power half the match. And if you do have your power for most of the match, you have to play in an incredibly slow way that gives the survivors far too much time. Far too much time. Like, the way he is played, from who I've talked to in terms of like talking to Ghostface mains and consulting with some of the best Ghostface players like SK and stuff like that, the way that the Plague works, or the way that Ghostface works is you have to play him in an ambush style. You have to stay hidden, stay in corners, take alternate paths, things like that. The problem with that play style is that it just wastes too much time. If you can't beeline to a survivor, what are you gonna do, right? You have to take all these alternate routes, which is fun for some people, but it wastes so much damn time that survivors just start doing gens. And then God forbid you have a survivor that like follows you around the whole match. They're just yoinking you out of your power, like over and over again. Honestly, for me personally, the Ghostface is so bad, he's miserable to play. For me personally. I know some people have fun with him, but for me personally, the Ghostface is so bad, he is miserable to play. Next up is the DemoDoggy. I put DemoDoggy in B. DemoDoggy is really, really good. I think his portals need a little bit of work. I think that his portals should be on a refresh rate, where if you've placed down all your portals and you go to place another one, it just deletes the oldest portal that you placed. You put them on a refresh rate and it would help the Demogorgon a lot. But other than that, his pounce is just very, very strong. I think people completely underestimate how strong his pounce is. It's incredibly powerful. It's an incredibly powerful tool. So yeah, pounce is really, really good. Next up is the Oni. Oni is in A tier. The Oni's snowball potential. Yo, Waraj, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate it. The Oni's snowball potential is stupid strong, dude. Stupid fucking strong. Once the Oni gets his blood economy going, which is incredibly easy to do, I tell people this all the time. The first survivor you injure, you leave them alone. And then you go and down a different survivor, and you have instantly created a blood economy that lasts you most of the match, right? So the blood economy for the Oni is just so goddamn powerful once you get it going, that his snowball is one of the strongest in the game. I think what holds him back from like S tier is that his flick, he is relatively simple, not easy, but simple to loop. and you do get a significant warning when he's coming up on you. And so to get around some of those weaknesses, a lot of Onis will maybe use things like, they'll use things like Sloppy Butcher to slow the healing. I've seen Onis use like Undetectable or Oblivious type stuff to help with the dash, like catch survivors off guard. So he does have a tad bit of perk reliance, but not enough to really like overtly matter. And I would say his map reliance is also a little bit there, just because he is an M1 killer for the beginning of the match. But overall, the Oni is very strong. Very, very strong. Next up is the Deathslinger. The Deathslinger is a good killer, but because of his 110 speed, it makes him incredibly map reliant. Like stupid map reliant. The Deathslinger is so like one of the most map reliant killers in B tier, because if it is a large map, it's very, very difficult to use the slinger correctly. Not correctly. It's very difficult to get the pressure you need. The Deathslinger is a killer that you have to learn how to end chases fast with him, or else you're going to fail 90% of the time. If a map is large, or if it has a lot of pallets, you're kind of in a very bad position, because pallets are your biggest weakness as the slinger. But I do think that outside of the high map reliance, he's not that perk or add-on reliant. So that's why I put him in the B. I don't think he's weak enough to be just average. I think he is above average. Next up is Pyramid Head. Probably one of the top 10 killers in the game. Pyramid Head's anti-loop is stupid fucking strong. He doesn't have perk reliance. He doesn't have add-on reliance, which is a good thing because most of his add-ons are trash. But he doesn't have either of those things. And so he is definitely, in my opinion, one of the strongest killers in the game. I wouldn't even say he's got that much of a map reliance. What makes Pyramid Head so good is his ability to just straight up ignore most of the survivor perks, right? His cages ignore every anti-tunnel perk in the game. They ignore so many like will make it, which is the one where you unhook and then heal 100% faster. It ignores that. You ignore flashlight save, flashbang saves, pallet saves. You ignore breakout. You ignore sabotage. The Pyramid Head just does not give a fuck about your anti-hooking, anti-tunnel fucking things. He just doesn't care. So yeah, I think he is definitely a super powerful killer. One of the, I'd say top 10 in the game. Next up is the second and only addition to the S tier, which is the Blight. The Blight is an incredibly powerful killer. His map traversal is insane. His anti-loop is insane. His chase is insane. Do you need perks? No. Do you need add-ons? No. Do you need a certain map? No. You don't need any of those. The Blight is super strong. The only thing that holds him below Nurse is the Nurse ignores obstacles while the Blight needs them. That's the only thing that makes Nurse above the Blight, is the Nurse ignores obstacles while the Blight needs them. Next up is the Twins. I think a lot of people have been sleeping on the Twins for a long time. Their map pressure is insane. The ability to slug multiple survivors in rapid succession is as strong as Oni's without the time sink that Oni requires. On top of that, Victor doesn't have a terror radius, he just has a lullaby, which makes him harder to detect how far away that he is. On top of that, the Twins have insane info with Victor. If you leave Victor in a corner for a second, the killer instinct from him is pretty crazy. The ability to like leave Charlotte, so like if you're at Shack, you could like leave Charlotte in the doorway, one of the doorways, and then leave Victor in the other doorway, and the only thing the survivor has is like the window. Charlotte, the Twins they're not add-on reliant, they're not perk reliant, they're not map dependent. They're just incredibly strong. What keeps them out of the S tier is that there is a significantly good counterplay, which is the buddy system. Playing together in pairs with other survivors makes her much weaker And if the Charlotte is trying to M1 you, you can kidnap Victor for a significant amount of time. It's not as much as it used to be, but you can kidnap Victor for a significant amount of time and weaken her. That's what keeps her out of the S tier. But yeah, I think that the twins are heavily slept on. They are insanely strong. It's just absolutely fucking amazing. Like one of the best things in the world. Next up is the Trickster. Where do I put you? Give me a second to think here, chat. Somewhere between B and C for sure. Definitely somewhere between B and C, right? I feel like that's the obvious one. I'm gonna say bottom of B, top of C tier. I think that for a lot of people, what they underestimate about the Trickster is that his ability to being 115 is strong for what he is as a range killer, but he's so map reliant because if the maps have a lot of tall loops and a lot of clutter, then it's easier to dodge his knives because you just go around and break line of sight constantly. Which is why a lot of people have argued that Trickster needs to be 115 because it's too easy to break line of sight nowadays. But I don't even think 115 saves him. I think he's average, honestly. I think the Trickster is average. Yeah, I would honestly say the Trickster is average. Yeah, if he was 110, he would be lower on the list. Next up is Nemesis. Nemesis is just a solid killer ever since he got his buffs to his whip and his infection rate made him far less add-on reliant than he used to be. He's not that perk reliant either, except that he does need perks to make his zombies worth a shit. And even then, they're not that great. I think now that his whip has been buffed, if they were going to look at anything else, it would be improving the zombies. And in my opinion, the easiest way to do that is to, number one, add a third zombie. Oh, but it would break the game. Shut the fuck up. We've had 2v8. A third zombie would not break the game. I don't believe you. Add a third zombie. So that is effectively a 4v4. Add a item for survivors to kill the zombies. Like a special item for survivors to kill the zombies with. And then, ooh, you know what would be cool? Like a struggle mechanic. Like if the zombies come to get you, instead of them just hitting you and infecting you, they could, like, when they go to hit you, it puts you in like a struggle phase. That would kind of make them too strong and chase though, huh? Some way to deal with the zombies besides pallets and flashlights. You'd have to give me time to think about it, but a third zombie, a way for survivors to deal with the zombies, and and I think that being infected should act like a pheromone. So like when you're infected, the zombies have like extra speed and extra detection range on you. I think that would be kind of cool. I have a lot of ideas for how to improve the zombies, but I'd have to take more time than what a killer tier list would allow me to do. Next up is the Pinhead. I used to have Pinhead in low A, but since then, I think I would put him in B tier. I think that his map presence is just a little bit too strong to, or a little bit too easy to deal with. Survivors have pretty much learned to just go for the box when they are almost in chain hunt and then pick up the box. I used to believe that the box was just slowdown, because it made one survivor not work on a gen. But after playing against several Pinheads and kind of playing Pinhead myself, it is fairly simple for survivors to just do a generator close to the box. And then when the chain hunt is almost activated, they just go grab it. And then they do it in a safe place. And then if you teleport to them, they loop you for a while. I do think he's still really good. I just think that his counterplay is a little bit too obvious, and that makes him not A tier like he used to be. I think he's a little bit map reliant. His add-on and perk reliancy doesn't really exist. He doesn't really need add-ons and perks, but his map dependency is pretty high because he is an M1 killer, and even though he has the ability to like hold you in place, pallets can still be a problem. Somebody could drop a good pallet, and holding them in place doesn't, mean that much. On top of that, they can use the environment and their other people's bodies to break the chains. So it's all very up in the air. I think he could be A tier if his box, maybe if the timer on the chain hunt was a little bit less, I think he could be A tier, but I would have to confer with Field Agent Reaper on what he thinks Pinhead needs. Next up is Artis, one of the best killers in the game. Her pick rate being as low as it is criminal for how strong she is. The Artis is a Huntress that can go through walls and can hit you from across the map, right? Being able to damage people from across the map is insanely powerful. And once you get over the skill floor of predicting survivor movements, she's just so goddamn strong. Her anti-loop is incredibly fucking powerful. The way the Artis works can be confusing for some people, but getting over that skill floor that she has, she just turns into a top 5 killer, I think, easily. I think just very easily she's a top 5 killer. She's so fucking powerful, and people just sleep on her all the time. Next up is Sadako. Here's the question. Is Sadako's map presence enough to make up for her bad chase and anti-loop? No, but almost. I think that the way that Sadako works is, I think that what Sadako needs, first off, we need a clear explanation of how this fucking killer works, because she's been changed like 76 times. But I think what Sadako needs desperately is some kind of, I don't know how we would do it, but she needs some kind of chaser anti-loop power. Some kind. I think that her map presence is very strong, but because she doesn't have anything to go with it, except for the, you know what I would give her, honestly? And I don't know if it would actually move her up. I would make it to where somebody is able to be condemned, they're exposed. I think that would help her a lot. I don't know how much that would help her, but I think it would help her. Yeah. Next up is the Dredge. The Dredge is B tier. The Dredge is really good. I know that Gaming Athlete put the Dredge in A tier whenever Dredge got all those buffs that just made him way better to play. And Gaming Athlete, my hero, best Dredge main in my opinion, but I gotta disagree. I gotta disagree with A tier. I do not think that the Dredge is strong enough to be A tier. I will say that the Dredge is he stronger than Huntress? I think he's stronger than Pinhead, but I don't think he's stronger than Huntress. Yeah, his map reliance is fucking atrocious. I think his map reliance is what holds him back. He utilizes lockers, Huntress relies on them. That's a good point. That's a good point. I think he's got a better anti-loop than Huntress because he doesn't rely as much on 50-50s. Yeah, I think he's better than Huntress. So yeah, I don't think he's A tier. I think that his map reliance holds him back from being A tier. If they normalized locker spawns to where you wouldn't have maps where a third of the map doesn't have a locker on it, easy A tier. Easy A tier. But because he's so map reliant, I just can't give him A tier. I just can't. His map reliance is just too high. Next up is Whiskers. Talking to Wesker mains, they tell me he's not A tier. I have to disagree. I think that he is. I just think that he's lowish A tier. I would probably put him, yeah, I'd put him above the Plague. Wesker is just a really good killer. He's just a really good killer. He's very, very strong. The reason people have asked why his tear radius is 40 meters, it's because of his dashes. His dashes are instant amounts of damage and they are incredibly fast. So survivors need a warning that he's coming. But what holds him back to like the lower parts of A tier is that once you're in a chase, it's kind of easy to predict his dashes. You have to be really good at Wesker to overcome the straight line that you dash in. So yeah, what holds him back is that it's kind of easy to predict his dashes once you're in a chase. Do you think that the third dash from 2v8 would be too strong base? Oh, 100%. 100%. It would have to be an iridescent add-on. I think they should make palette breaking base kit and then replace Lab Photo's effect with a third dash. Next up is the Knight. And the Knight is in B tier, honestly. Ever since the Knight's changes where you could select whatever guard you want and you can summon a different guard while another one is mid-chase, the Knight is just, it just pretty good. Pretty good. I think the Knight overall is one of those killers that is just in an insanely good spot. I don't think he really needs any changes. I know that there's a lot of bug fixes. ZmPixie has pointed them out a couple of times, but overall, I think the Knight is just good. The Knight's just a good killer that doesn't really need a shitload of The Knight's just a really good killer that doesn't really need a shitload of changes. Not finally, but next we get to the One. You guys know the One. I don't think this comes as a shock to anyone. What are we gonna say? This killer basically has no power. Skull Merchant basically has no power. They set out to gut this killer, bring her to the guillotine on some French Revolution type shit, and they fucking did it. This killer is terrible. Dog shit. Worst killer in the game. And people still fucking DC from her. Anyway, moving on to Singularity. Singularity is one of the strongest killers in the game. Not quite top 5, but Singularity's, I would say Singularity is just below Spirit, actually. So Singularity needs a little bit of setup time, which is his time sink. Outside of the fact that he can't put cameras on ceilings, which is really fucking weird, by the way. Can we change that? Outside of the fact that he can't put cameras on ceilings or floors in indoor maps, he's just strong. He's just really fucking strong. So he's got a little bit of map reliance, kind of like Billy, right? Billy's got a little bit of map reliance. That little bit of map reliance is what holds Singularity. I think if he could put cameras on ceilings, he would be above Spirit. He would definitely be above Spirit if he could put cameras on ceilings and floors. That would change his indoor map reliance a little bit. But yeah, Singularity is just so fucking good. Just insanely strong. Next up is the Xenomorph. So I've talked with Bran a lot about the Xenomorph. I've done my own playtesting and I've gone back and forth. And I think I'm still not sure I would put Xenomorph in the B tier. I think Xenomorph is in the A tier purely because of the strong ace/anti-loop and the map presence. Now, unfortunately, the map presence is a little bit unreliable because of the way that killer props interact with chests, which is stupid. But I think that if they... Here's my fix for the Xenomorph, and, you know, maybe Bran can correct me if he watches this, which he might. But here's my personal fix for the Xenomorph. I would make tunnels always spawn right next to generators. I think if tunnels always spawned right next to generators and they couldn't spawn like a floor below or whatever, I think that would skyrocket the Xenomorph's power because the map presence would be absolutely insane and it would just make them more consistent than they currently are. I know Bran also wants them to get a hitbox overall, overhaul, not overall, hitbox overhaul, kind of like Bubba got, which I think I agree with. But yeah, I think the Xenomorph is incredibly strong. Next up is the Chuckster. Kind of fallen from grace a bit. Chucky used to be the like 5th best killer in the game, in my opinion. Or 4th best, but I think that ever since the Slice and Dice, ever since manual Scamper got removed and Slice and Dice got a bit slower, but the cooldown did go back up, I would put Chucky at the top of B tier, I think. I think Chucky is just, I think that Chucky's small hitbox in itself and the third-person view is far overlooked when it comes to the power level of this killer. So yeah, I think Chucky is much stronger than people give him credit for. I just don't think that he's quite in the A tier anymore, just because of how slow the Slice and Dice is. Next up is the Unknown. I would call Unknown the gatekeeper to A tier. The Unknown is incredibly, I mean, Unknown's got map map presence. He's got a ranged attack. He's got just an incredibly, like, map presence is the best way to put it, right? The unknown is simultaneously everywhere and nowhere at the same time, especially once the clones start getting put down. I think what holds the unknown back is the fact that his ranged attack is honestly the worst ranged attack in the game. Not only does it take 3 hits to damage you, but survivors can pretty easily avoid it, and they can cleanse it by just looking at you. I'm gonna be so fucking for real. If they want to keep that 3-hit bullshit, they either need to increase the time it takes to cleanse by looking at you, change the way survivors cleanse it, or just outright get rid of it. Get rid of the ability to cleanse it. Because at the end of the day, it's too bad. I think it's the worst projectile in the game, in my opinion. Next up is Vecna, my baby boy, my boy. Vecna is the bottom of A tier. What keeps Vecna from B tier is that once you climb over his skill floor, you'll find that his Swiss Army knife abilities are incredibly reliant. Vecna does not have a big map dependency, doesn't have a big add-on dependency, doesn't have a big perk dependency. So what holds him back from being higher? It's that while each of his spells are very reliant, they could each be better. And if you find yourself in a situation where you need a spell and it's on cooldown, that can hurt you a lot, especially with each spell being a 38-second cooldown. It can be pretty hard to compensate for that. If each of the spells were, say, a 35-second or even a 32-second cooldown, I think he would be higher in the A tier, but I think that him each being on a 38-second cooldown is what stops him from being too high, and he's just barely out of the B tier. Where Unknown is just barely out of the A tier, where Unknown's just barely out of the A tier, Vecna is just barely out of the B tier. Yeah. Next up is Dracula. I think Dracula is one of the strongest killers in the game. He's much more straightforward than Vecna with his selection of powers. And I think that a lot of people kind of underestimate how strong things like Hellfire and the Wolf form and Bat form are. What holds Dracula back is the fact that he has to switch between those 3 powers at like a moment's notice, and the fact that Hellfire is pretty easy to dodge. Like, it takes a lot of mechanical skill to get good with Hellfire. Hellfire is easier to dodge than Pyramid Head's Judgment of the Damned. So the Hellfire being so easy to dodge means that his vampire form is pretty much his weakest form, but it is a form that you need to go in a lot because it is the strongest at short loops. So yeah, it's a little bit interesting, but I think that he's slightly weaker than Artis because his Hellfire is just slightly less unreliable than Artis's is. But Dracula is not map dependent, not add-on reliant, and not perk reliant either, so. Next up is Hound Mommy. I think Hound Mommy's pretty average. I think she could be stronger if she was a little bit more reliable. The dog is piss easy to dodge. I don't know how so many people find themselves getting caught by the dog, because the whistle is loud enough for me to hear, and I'm half deaf. I have hearing issues, and I can clearly hear the whistle. So that when you hear the whistle, that means look behind you and see where she's aiming. I have hardly ever gotten hit by the dog when I play against the Houndmaster. It's just too easy to dodge. However, Houndmasters that are good with the dog are scary. Actually, I think I'd put her above Chucky, to be honest. I think I'd put her above Chucky. Yeah, but the Houndmaster's good. Good killer. Finally, we get to Kaneki. This is it, isn't it? This is where everybody's on the edge of their seats. Jojo, Kaiser, I hear you guys say. When you did your video on Kaneki, you said that he was B tier, low A. What do you think now? What do you think after his nerfs? C, maybe D. Is he horrible? Are you gonna admit that you were a dumb poo-poo head and he was actually really good? Well, I wouldn't call myself a dumb poo-poo head, but I was wrong about Kaneki. The enraged volt speed and the hinder that you get from using his volt whenever you target a survivor is pretty fucking stupid. It makes his only counterplay basically non-existent, and the way to play against Kaneki is to be able to loop well. The way that I would explain playing against Kaneki is you pretty much have to just accept that you're going to get injured, and then you have to know how to loop well. Unfortunately, because his palette vault is very strong right now, it makes him incredibly annoying to play against, and it makes him better than the Hillbilly. But I do not think he is in the S tier, simply because he is not that strong. He's not as strong as the S tier, but top 5 killer in the game, absolutely top 5 killer in the game, 100%, I agree. I'm sorry that I made so many of you mad. Now, do I think that the bitching and moaning about him when he first came out was dumb? Yes, absolutely. I do think that far too many people were mad that they couldn't just get free distance from Kaneki, but like you can't get free distance from Nurse, you can't get free distance from Blight, can't get free distance from Billy, you can't get free distance from Spirit. Like there's a ton of these killers you can't get free distance from. So you have to play against Kaneki as if he were, you know, a dash killer, which he is, right? So I do think that once they nerf the palette vault, either by nerfing the enraged vault speed or by making it to where if he latches onto a survivor, he doesn't hinder them, I think he'll go below Billy. But I think that as of right now, he's probably going to stay in the top 5 killers for a long time, purely because of his map presence. He's not add-on or perk reliant really, and his map dependency is incredibly low. I think he suffers in indoor maps a little bit, but yeah, he's incredibly strong. Just one of the strongest killers in the game, bar none. 100%. I agree. So this is the final list. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger for everybody to see. But this is the final tier list. I think it's pretty cool. It was pretty fun to do this. I haven't done one of these in a while. So it was pretty fun. I'm excited to finally do another one. Some people have brought up like, oh, what about the upcoming PTB? Nothing's really changing. The Houndmaster nerfs don't really do anything to affect her. So I think overall, each of these killers is where I feel like they belong. So just to remind everybody, S tier is the most powerful in the game. If the killer is good at that, if the killer player is good at that killer, you're probably not winning. A tier is really, really good. B is above average, but still good. C is average. D is bad. And F is so bad they are miserable to play. So that is the rankings. I hope you guys enjoyed. And just for the YouTube, I'll throw a static image of this on top for everybody to have fun with. But yeah, that's everything. Really fun. And if you're watching this on the YouTube, then a very great big special thank you to my channel members listed on screen now. If you want to find out how to become a channel member today, get awesome perks like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, personal coaching sessions, and more, then please click that join button down below. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.